What's up everybody, Will Mosby here, back with yet another DIY video. And man, it feels like a long time has passed since I've actually done a video for you guys. We ended up getting an RV. I've been spending a lot of time renovating this thing, and so hopefully there's going to be some footage and some new videos to come out on that, so stay tuned on there. But this one, great little project to do. This is a small deck. This is only 10 by 12. Made it nice and easy for the framing underneath, but this is a very useful small deck right off the back of the house. Great for plants and planter boxes, maybe even grow a small garden boxes, that type of thing. Just a great place to hang out. Super useful, super easy to build, won't take you very long at all. So let's get into it step by step. I'll show you how to do it all the way through. Let's go.
All right, so here's our space behind the house. This little 10 by 12 space, and I just really wanted to cover up the spots around the air conditioning units and kind of tidy that up. First thing you want to do is put a weed barrier down, and I had to cut a hole out for the water meter, of course. Another thing that I did is I put down some ground clear just to prevent weeds from coming up. So now I'm going to be placing the boards. This is a 10-foot board, that's a 12-foot board, and I'm just going to be putting those in place right now before we attach them together and building my first box for framing. One of the handy tools that I use is this Pony 90-degree clamp, and that really holds stuff in place and really just gives me an extra hand whenever I'm needing to nail in or screw in corners. And so I'm using actually my nail gun this time. It's just so much quicker than me kind of screwing them in. Now we're doing the other corner. So this is getting all four corners. We're going to speed things up. You get the idea. It's just fun getting out the nail gun, the framing nailer. Now we're going to mark off where the cross members are going to go. I started off doing 16 inches on center, and then I changed my mind, and then I changed my mind again. So back and forth I went. Finally came up with the solution that I wanted to use, which was 16 inches on center, until I got to the meter box that I had to work around. You'll see. And I ran out of nails right there. And just a real quick review, this is a Banks framing nailer from Harbor Freight, and this is not sponsored by them by any means. I just use this framing nailer whenever I put together the deck around the hot tub, the whole thing, and this thing just works great, so it's bulletproof. So I don't know if you saw that or not, but I hesitated right when I tried to lift that thing up. It was heavier than what I expected. And pull it and tug on it to finally get it into the position that you want it to be. So now we're going to take the tape measure and just go from corner to corner, and then from the other corner to the other corner to check and see if I am square, which I was not. So what do? You just keep tapping and making adjustments on both the short and the long side to finally get it to be close enough. And I had to recruit my daughter in because I was getting tired of walking back and forth. So I grabbed my daughter real quick, and she came down and helped me, just getting out of a shower apparently. And we finally got that sucker square, and I'm just showing you here that it was actually level. So this is a very important tip. You want to snap a chalk line, which you just saw me do, so you can get that first board on correct, because that first board is going to really set the alignment and kind of set the pace for the rest. And I started out just drilling pilot holes, which might have been overkill. I eventually switched over because that was just taking way too much damn time. So I finally switched over to just grabbing the deck screws and just screwing them straight in. And yeah, these are actually 3.5-inch deck screws. That was from the project on the hot tub as well that I had left over, so I just decided to use those and stick with it, and there they are. That's what it's going to look like from the top view. That's about the spacing that you want to use, putting your deck screws in. And you're going to screw into every cross member that's going across. So you can barely see it there. There is a paint stir stick, and that's what I use. I use several of them to give me the actual space between the first and the second board and all the boards going across. So all of the deck boards are going to use this paint stir stick. That gives me about the perfect width between each of the boards. You can see here I finally switched to just screwing them in directly without having to drill pilot holes first. It was just so much quicker and I just got tired of it. But another tip here is some of these boards, actually a lot of the boards, were not straight. So you had to put an end down, and if it was warped, you wanted the high side to be away from your board that you had already put down. And then hook in one side and then go to the other end, pull that one in and screw that in, and then work your way across the middle, just like I'm doing here. You had to work your way across, put that one in, and that way you could go back to the midsection and pull that board in and take some of that warp out. And a nice pair of knee pads really helps out. Yeah, this is a real good view to show you exactly how warped these boards get. And so I anchored this side closest to the camera here, and went down to the other end, pulled that in, anchored that one, screwed that in, and then worked my way across the middle, and that'll straighten out the boards and line them up with the rest.
All right, we're on the final piece, and I gotta get roughly, really, I should cut this last piece about 2 3/4, give myself a 1/4 of an inch distance between the last two boards, and I'll be really close to the house. And so we're gonna rip this one on the table saw, and we'll put this last piece in.
And that's it. We finished laying down all the deck boards. These are all 12-foot 1x6s, which is going to put me a little long since my box underneath is only 10 foot wide. So I'm going to have to cut off the end. And so we're going to drop a chalk line and run the skill saw right over the top, and that'll just take care of the right edge. Obviously, I'm going to run into a problem here in just a second when I get to the house because the saw will not go through the house to cut that last board. So I'm going to run inside, grab my trusty Japanese pull saw, go back out, and it's just going to look odd from that angle, but you get the idea. We're just going to take that last little piece off, and we're done.
Hey, so that's it. That's the finished product. This is what it looks like. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps you if you're trying to make your own little small deck. It's going to serve you great purpose. It's going to give you a nice space in the back so that you can put your stuff on. Hey, but before we go, if you're into this kind of DIY stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. Like it, share it, comment. I would love all that. And we'll see you in the next video.